Hello everyone, welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. It is the weekend and like every weekend we are in the garden doing garden chores and anything that just needs to be done. Hello everyone, my name is Kim and I live in Southwest Ohio. I am in zone 6B and I have a suburban garden. I have raised beds, I have containers, I have vertical planters, and it's the weekend, and on the weekend that's when I take care of most things in my garden. Now I work full time and I travel about 50% of the time. So that's why weekends are the most important time for me to do some catch up. And that's what we're going to do today. And so I'm going to just bounce around the garden and I'm going to bring you with me. The first thing that we're going to bounce around and take care of, we're going to harvest some more onions and get them curing and drying in my garage. And so there's just a few more in the garden and that's what we're going to do first. It is very early in the morning. Well, it's not that early. Let's see what time it is now. It's already 9:30, but I've been in the garden already for a little while. But I want to be done before noon, before that sun really pounces down on me. So we are picking white sweet Spanish onion. That's what we have here. And you know they're ready. The neck is all limp. So a limp neck means it's ready. Now these are just average size onions. Nothing super big, but they will be really nice when we get them inside and enjoying them. Now some of these are in still pretty good shape. There's some little baby ones. Now, of course, while I'm over here, I am going to do some weeding if I see weeds growing in the garden. So I'm not going to walk by any weeds, of course. In the front here, I have some kale that I transplanted in here after I pulled out all of the onions that was in the space here. So there's just a few more to harvest. For my family, the weekends, Saturday morning, this is what we do. We get out in the garden or the yard. We'll do yard work, garden work, whatever needs to be done outside. We usually use the weekends for that. Now this one is going to seed. It's got little flowers on the top and the neck is still good on this one. So really, this one never died back. It went straight to seed. This one did as well. I may just leave those two in there. I think I will. I will leave them in there and let's see if we can harvest some seeds for next year. But we will get everything else out. Now I've already planted the second round of veggies for this space here. I have a yellow squash coming up here. And there's another one over there somewhere, but it hasn't broken ground yet. But the next round for this bed is squash. So we really need to try to get everything else out that we can get out before that squash gets to size. And I believe that squash was a 50 to 60 day or something like that. So we have a little time because I do have some carrots back there. And that's really it besides these two onion that I'm leaving in here. I do have eggplant back here. I have one there. It's got a little eggplant on it, but it's not quite ready. All right, we will move over to another area and pick some more onion. Okay, we will start way back here in the back. And these onion were just shaded out so badly in the back here. When my hosta came up, it kind of just took over this space. We will be moving those hostas next year. We don't want to take any growing space away from the vegetables. And I've already had my drip irrigation on today, and That means these got watered, and that's not necessarily a good thing because they didn't need to be watered. Okay, so I got everything out the back here, which is what I wanted to do because it's just being buried. The necks on most of these still look really good, so we won't mess with those. Oh, that one got to come out. We got a limp neck there. All right, what do we have in here? So all of the onions in the back are Walla Walla in the back, the ones I just harvested. And all the onion in the front here are Yellow of Parma. Yellow of Parma isn't one of those super sweet onion, but it's supposed to be a good storage onion. Yellow of Parma. That's what we're harvesting here. My preferred onion is the Spanish yellow, sweet Spanish yellow, or a Texas 1015. Those are preferred for me. All right. I think the rest of these still look good. No, not that one. All right. There's a basket of onion. We will go get these laid out so they can dry. Okay, Charlie. Here you go.
Oh, you have a carrot stick?
No, just one. There you go. My daughter will take those and get those set up in the garage for me so we can get those drying. And now, y'all, it's time for us to do a little bit of fertilizing. Before I get too much into the fertilizing, I needed to grab my garden journal. I need to make a couple of notes here. I just want to call out that those white Spanish onion, that I had a couple of them go to seed, so I want to put that in here. And here's my garden journal. I made it for myself, right? I designed it for things that I need. I've talked about it earlier in the season, so if it was something you're interested in, there's a link to my garden journal down below. But it helps me with my seed starting and when I need to get things outside. And in the very back, there's a place for me to capture notes. And that's what we're going to do now. So these are my onion, and they're my white Spanish. And my issue with this is some went to seed. All right, captured that note. And I have other notes in here about different tomatoes and my corn and sweet potatoes and just regular potatoes, peas, whatever I needed to make a special note on. I put that in here. But today is really all about my fertilizing schedule, and I've gotten behind as always. That's not new, but we're going to fertilize the whole garden today. We're going to use a liquid fertilizer. Fox Farm Grow Big is what we're using today. And I have a place for my fertilizing schedule or my feeding schedule. So let me put that in here for today. Now I like to fertilize my garden. So if you haven't seen my video on how I fertilize and the different products that I use, I like to use a granular fertilizer when I first set all of my beds up. I use it in everything, whether I'm talking about my GreenStalks behind me, my raised beds, my pots, whatever. I'm using some type of granular fertilizer, among other amendments. And then once my beds are established, I like to use a liquid fertilizer, and usually it's Fox Farm or it's Dr. Earth. Those are my preferred ones, but I use a liquid fertilizer every 10 to 14 days. Pretty much on all of my green stalks, every 10 to 14 days, I use the liquid fertilizer. In my raised beds, and any containers other than potatoes. So I don't use any fertilizers on my potatoes after I start them. I put plenty of amendments in when I put those potatoes in, and I never fertilize them again until I harvest. But for the rest of my beds, I probably use a liquid fertilizer probably every 2 to 3 weeks, maybe. Maybe, but I'll never go more than a month without using fertilizer in my raised beds. And that's what we're going to focus on next are the raised beds. So we are going to start with the raised beds, give them a good fertilizing. And all of my green stalks, I'm going to give them a good fertilizing as well, but I'm going to have to wait a little bit because the green stalks, I just watered them in, so they're super wet, and I need to wait probably about 30 minutes or so before I give them a good fertilizing. Now, we are, let's see, how far along are we? We're toward the end of July. I typically will add more granular fertilizer toward like the middle of my season. So probably in the next couple of weeks or so, I will put a granular fertilizer throughout my raised beds. And so I like to do that at the beginning of the season. About halfway through the season, I do a granular fertilizer to kind of keep that garden pumping along, to kind of finish out the season. With the granular fertilizer is slow release. It's going to release a little bit over time. A liquid fertilizer is immediate release. And that's why I do this one every 10 to 14 days or every 2 to 3 weeks in the main garden. So we're going to work on the main garden first. All three of my containers here are roughly 2 gallons. For the most part, they're 2 gallons. Whatever fertilizer you use, I always say read the directions and follow the directions on your container. And this one says for a general feeding, it's 2 to 3 teaspoons per gallon. And it says every other watering, but I'm not going to do it that often. And so it says shake well, 2 to 3 teaspoons. So that could be up to 6 teaspoons because these are 2 gallon. I'm going to use 2 capfuls. I figured it out last year that it's roughly 2 capfuls for every one of my containers, roughly. That's close enough, but always follow the directions on your fertilizer. In your green stalks, you need to be very intentional on what liquid fertilizer you use. And for example, I have used a concentrated fish fertilizer before. And when I used that, it had a lot of sediments in it, and those sediments kind of clogged up the holes in some of the gray disc in my green stalks. I did that early on, several years ago. I don't do that anymore. I only use a fertilizer that I know completely dissolves so it doesn't leave any residue behind. I like to put my fertilizer in first, and then I like to add the water. And I'm going to fill all three of these containers, and I'm going to go throughout the garden, and I'm going to just lightly water all of the beds. Now, I watered my beds about 3 hours, 4 hours ago, my raised beds. So they are definitely ready to take just a little more water, put some nice fertilizer in it. You don't want to fertilize in the heat of the day. So if it's 90 outside and it's noon and the sun is beating down on your plants, don't fertilize then. First thing in the morning, last thing at night maybe, but not in the hot heat of your day. I think that's all the tips I have. I'll get these filled up and we will start putting these in the garden. Fertilizer will burn your plant if you don't follow the directions and you're too concentrated. I would prefer to be a little weak than too strong because I don't want to burn my plants that I've spent months and months taking care of and babying. Containers are full. Let's get them in the garden. My beds are 8 feet long, and an 8-foot bed should easily take one container. I will keep this process going and I'll get these all watered up and then I'll bring you back. All right, it is time for me to water my GreenStalk vertical planters. For them, I use the same ratio for my liquid fertilizer. And again, this is about 2 gallons. I'm gonna pour about half of it in from the top. After I pour about half in, I'm gonna walk away. I'm gonna pour the other half in another container. And eventually I'll come back, but I'll give it about 2 gallons of water. And that's my process for my green stalks as well. So 2 gallons in each one, but if I put it in too fast, it's going to come straight out the bottom. So I put about half the container, move to another one, work my way around, and then I wait a little bit, and then I'll come back with another half of a container. But let me finish this process, and I'll bring you back when we start something else. So I am moving on to another garden task, and I am using my Saker. It's called Saker. It's a cordless hedge trimmer and grass shear. That's what we're getting ready to use. I don't even know if you can read that box or not, but I will have the link to this product below. I think you can get it on Amazon, but that's what we're going to use today. I have the grass shear attachment on it, and this is what we're going to use today, I think. The grass right here on the edge of my garden is starting to come into the garden, and we need to stop that. My lawnmower can't get this. So just give it a nice haircut right here along the edge. There we go. That's looking so much better already. I think these are called creeping Charlies or something like that. I think it's what my neighbor said. And they creep into the garden and take over. So I need to get those by the roots if I can. Yeah, I got these last year and I used it for my hedges and I used it to cut right around the edge of my garden and I got it done so fast. And so this is a really, really nice garden tool if you're interested. Again, the link is below. It's just on Amazon. The last time I let my mom do the edging, she cut my drip irrigation and I had to repair it. So I'm like, you don't need to do that today. I got it. I got it. Don't worry about it. This, I think, is called Creepin' Charlie. I think is what my neighbor said. But this will end up in my beds. And once it gets in my beds, it's over. And I have it all throughout my yard and my garden. So I have to try to protect as much as I can. And we will be cutting grass later today. And that'll come right along here and finish cleaning this right up. Well, I'm going to keep working my way around. And I'll see you back here in a few minutes. It's just like cutting hair. Love this thing. Ooh-wee. Don't this look so much better? Ooh, that looks so much better. You couldn't even see the red border. Y'all, this looks so much better. And I won't do it again probably until next year. But this task is done. Let's do something else. I figured I'd show you my work from the other angle. before I work on this next project. Y'all, look at that. I haven't seen a side of this bed in over a year. Nice and clean all the way back from the edge of the garden. But now it's time for me to fix this. I just been holding off on it. I just didn't want to have to deal with it. But y'all, we got to fix this. You got to get this back in shape here. So this is one of my tomato plants that my tree people who took 2 trees out for me. Here, let me show you. So there used to be a tree right here, and they took one out over there. So right in here, I had a huge tree, and when they were taking it down, yep, they hit this tomato plant right here and broke it into many, many different pieces. And I just didn't have the heart to come over here and try to figure it out. So we're going to figure it out today. The best way to try to save this plant. There's still a lot of tomatoes on here. A lot of tomatoes, including this super ripe one right here. What is in here? What kind of tomatoes? Steak sandwich, which seems to be my best tomato this year, is steak sandwich. But we got to try to save this plant. I don't know how to do this. Ooh. The type of trellising that I use on here is called Mighty Crop. And when that wood fell on it, it fell right on this plant. And that wasn't just a small limb, that was a massive tree limb that fell on here. Now this is the year of damage to tomato plants, it seems. I turned my tower over, rode it right off of the side of the sidewalk. All right, I got that side up. This particular stake here is not my 8-foot stake. I think it's a 6-foot stake. And so I have to set this on a different setting to make it stay. I think the tops are completely broke out of this thing. Ooh, that don't look good. Well, at least it's standing up now. I got all the pieces up. I'm gonna have to cut the top side of this, but that's good enough for now. Now let's fix the other one. So yeah, after they took my tomato plant out, they tried to pick it up and move it over on my patio, but they didn't realize that I had drip irrigation in it. And so my drip irrigation lines were all ripped out as well, which also helped these tomato plants fall over. They were so upset when it happened. I mean, they didn't do it on purpose, and they apologized over and over and over again. So I can't be mad at them. I took the tomatoes in the house, the ones that were green, and then I ended up giving them to a family friend because they wanted them. And I'm like, sure, why not? Because I don't eat green tomatoes, but I know a lot of people do. Again, this type of trellising is called Mighty Crop. I always keep a link in there. I do a lot of different types of trellising, and Mighty Crop is one of them. All right, that one didn't take much to fix. It's in better shape already. And I still need to clean up behind this area here. The only thing though, there's poison ivy running rampant back there. So I gotta be prepared to work back there. I got creeping Charlie vines everywhere, but that's another day and another project. Let's get these red tomatoes. And while I'm at it, let's go get all of the red tomatoes. So this is a steak sandwich right here. I think I already said this is a steak sandwich. And this is a big mama. And I got some more over here. Let's go grab all of them. At least all of them that are ready anyway. Okay, what do we got? Ooh, we have a big rainbow. Picked one of those the other day. It's a big rainbow. So a little Cherokee purple. Cherokee purple's been doing really well this year. Yep, Cherokee purple. And growing up with my tomatoes, I have a volunteer cucumber, but there are no cucumbers ready on it today. True black brandywine. And I'm going to have more tomatoes today than I had just yesterday. Let's go to those beefsteaks. Now, guess what? Another steak sandwich. Bodacious. Bodacious is perfect for sandwiches. One slice will fit a sandwich. I just picked 2 of those. Super steak. Big Mama. There's a little baby black creme. Black creme. Cherokee purple. My basket getting heavy. Let's see what kind of cherry tomatoes we got back here. I have some little baby black strawberries. Black strawberries, some little baby ones. Black cherry. Man, if I'm picking this many tomatoes every day, y'all, we're gonna be in trouble. I'm not gonna be able to take care of them that fast. They're gonna have to go in the freezer then. I only see one sweet 100. That one's gone now. You don't have to take that one in. Uh-oh, there was 2. Uh-oh, I messed up. There was 2. Mm-hmm. Yep, those are gone. Champagne bubbles. I see 3 of those. I do like champagne bubbles. I'm in the shade because the sun's behind me, but champagne bubbles. Oh, Camp Joy's getting close. Camp Joy is a really big cherry tomato. I've never had it before, but it's not quite ready yet. Cluj, which is just an orange cherry tomato. It's okay taste. I think the skin's a little thick on it, but it tastes okay. Cluj. And like I said, my basket getting heavy. And y'all, I just picked, 12 pounds of tomatoes over the last couple of days? And this is every bit 10 more pounds probably, but there's a few more to pick. Y'all, I had to put my basket down. That was just too much. And I mentioned there are multiple outdoor projects happening right now. So I got trash cans in a few places. But this right here, this thing is massive. And it's called a super sauce. And I probably could leave these out here another day or 2, but I'm going to go ahead and take them. I don't want to have to pick tomorrow or Sunday or Monday or whatever day of the week it is. But these are called super sauce tomatoes. They are huge, but they're sauce tomatoes. We have a few tomatoes over here. These are bush steak tomatoes. Bush steak. Whew, almost dropped it. And these don't look so great. Hannah Prize. It doesn't look good. This is my GreenStalk that I let roll off the sidewalk. But I got some new green leaves on it, so there are some things that are doing well. And I replanted pockets. I have cucumbers, I have beans, right? So we're gonna make the best out of this GreenStalk. Let's go look at the other one. You can't even tell that I picked tomatoes, can you? Well, all of them didn't make it to the basket. I ate a few. Is there anything on this one? Well, of course there is, Kim. Here's one right there. What is it? Is that a bush steak? Yep, that's a bush steak, but it's a baby bush steak. Looks like Hannah Prize and bush steak are going to be the big ones for me this year in my dwarf planter. Probably though, the only reason is I turned that one over. So we're not going to have that many options this year from our dwarf tomatoes, but there's still tons and tons of tomatoes coming in. Y'all, we're going to call that a good day's work. Whew, we got a lot of weeding done. We picked a whole bunch of onions. We got those drying in the garage. Yeah, we got our fertilizing done. We cleaned up a couple tomato plants that were damaged. And y'all, I was only trying to pick 1 or 2 tomatoes. That's it. I just want 1 or 2, y'all. Look at this basket of tomatoes. So I picked a few squash, a cucumber, and the tomatoes. But as always, I'm going to show you the weights of everything that I picked today is right to the side here. And it's mostly tomatoes, but this is another pretty heavy basket of tomatoes. So we're going to have to start processing them really soon. But I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me today in my garden over the weekend, taking care of a few things that needed to get done. So if you enjoy the video and you like my content, consider subscribing to my channel and please give me a thumbs up. And until next time, and I hope there will be a next time that you hang out with me at Kim's Cozy Corner. Bye.